Her son asked the surgeon to speed things up while she lay unconscious on the table. Dr. Margaret Carlin, retired anesthesiologist and widow, heard every word. Kyle, her only child and former power of attorney, smiled and signed hospital paperwork like a countdown. By week's end, his name would vanish from the trust, the title, and the life he tried to inherit early. She'd spent years funding his future. Now she was protecting hers. And when he reached for what wasn't his, the surveillance footage would answer for her. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. The sentence pierced through the haze like a scalpel, precise and impossible to misinterpret. I had drifted in and out, half aware, numb from the waist down. Yet that voice, my son's voice, sliced through everything. Not worried, not gentle, just impatient. I remember the cold feel of the anesthesia creeping through my veins, the softness of the heated blanket, and the quiet bustle of surgical prep. Then came the whisper. Low, urgent, barely audible, except I'd spent my life tuned to conversations in operating rooms. Even sedated, some instincts don't sleep. Can we speed things up? The answer must have been silence or a muttered no, because there was a pause. And then the surgeon's voice said calmly, "Let's stay focused on her safety, Mr. Carlin." By the time I'm fully awake, I'm back in my private room. The scent of antiseptic clings to my skin. My hip aches, but not as much as the hollow in my chest. A nurse adjusts the IV drip. "You're doing great, doctor." "Carlin," she says. She's young, with kind eyes and a little too much cheer. I catch the flicker of something behind her smile. It's not just concern, it's discomfort. "Was everything normal?" I murmur. My throat's dry. "During surgery?" She straightens the blankets, tucks them tight. "You were stable, very smooth. Any visitors before I went under?" She hesitates, too long for comfort. "Your son Kyle was here." Briefly. "And?" Another pause. Then she leans in, voice low. "Dr. Mendez, the anesthesiologist, he might want to speak with you. He mentioned something odd." My heart skips once. "Tell him to come, now." It takes 20 minutes. I feel everyone like a needle pressed under my skin. When Dr. Mendez enters, he's holding a clipboard, but it's more a prop than a necessity. He's mid-30s, calm, trained in the same field I once commanded for over 4 decades. There's a flicker of recognition in his eyes, not just professional courtesy. Respect. "I wanted to be sure you were lucid before saying anything," he begins. "I am," I say, and I remember the words. He exhales softly. "I thought so. It was said just before you were fully under." "What exactly did he say?" Dr. Mendez shifts, weighing every word. He leaned in close to Dr. Ferris, your surgeon, and said, "Can we speed things up? She's been dragging this out long enough." I blink. "He wasn't joking," he adds. "I know humor under stress. That wasn't it. It was rehearsed." For a moment, we both sit in the tension. Neither of us says what we're thinking. That wasn't a joke. That was motive. He hands me a pain tablet, places it gently on my palm. We're not allowed to get involved in family matters, but I documented the conversation, time-stamped, if you need it. I nod, voice steadier than I expect. "Keep that file secure." "I already have," he replies. He leaves with a quiet, haunted glance. It's the same one I wore countless times, walking out of rooms where patients learned the people who should have cared for them most didn't. The moment I'm alone, clarity returns. Kyle didn't ask how I was doing. He didn't ask when I'd be discharged. He didn't even sit through the full surgery. He came for one thing, to confirm I was almost gone. But I'm not. I'm very much still here. And his timeline just expired. My fingers twitch toward the nightstand, but my phone isn't there. Of course, it's locked away in the nurse's cabinet. I press the call button. "Could I have my phone?" I ask when the nurse returns. I give a soft smile. For comfort. Just something familiar while I recover. She hesitates, then nods and returns with it a few minutes later. I unlock it slowly, each movement deliberate. My lawyer's name is already pinned in our texts. Maggie. We need to revoke the will. Urgent. I hit send. I don't blink. I don't breathe. I just smile. The door creaks open just after sunrise, spilling quiet light across the hospital floor. Miriam Grant walks in wearing her signature slate gray blazer, hair pulled tight, no makeup, no apology. She's not the kind of lawyer who wastes time smoothing your pillow. She smooths contracts, lives, firestorms. Tell me everything, she says, before I can speak. I do. Every word. From Kyle's whisper to Dr. Mendez's face, the way the nurses looked away when I asked about visitors, the way my son pretended I was already, halfway buried, then asked if we could speed things up. Miriam listens with her arms folded across her legal pad, but her knuckles go white when I mention the phrase. He said that while you were under anesthesia? Yes, and I heard it, clear as any pulse. She exhales through her nose. I always knew he was entitled. I didn't know he was ambitious. I shift in the bed, adjusting the pillow beneath my arm. The surgical ache burns like truth under gauze. He's been circling, I add, hovering, asking strange questions about assets, about power of attorney. I brushed it off as restlessness. You're not brushing now, she says. You're cutting. She opens the red folder she brought and pulls out my current estate plan. The printout is precise, labeled tabs, color-coded notes, the bulk of my estate. House, brokerage, future royalties, listed under Kyle Carlin's name. I don't flinch. I just look at it like it's an expired prescription. He gets nothing, I say flatly. Not the house, not the car, not a scent of my breath. I want a full reversal. Miriam's pen is already moving. Full revocation of beneficiary status, she says, thinking aloud. Establish a living trust with layered oversight. We'll name a neutral third party as administrative trustee and another as financial manager. Someone he can't influence or manipulate, possibly corporate. I nod. Assume he'll challenge everything. Make it airtight. I'll move fast. The will revocation will be submitted electronically, then hard-copied with wet signatures from you, 2 nurses, and me as legal witness. You're still of sound mind. Hospital cognitive files will back it up. I want a clause added, I say. Miriam glances up. If he contests the changes, he forfeits everything. Even contesting voids him. She grins, sharp and clean. You always were surgical, Maggie. Start cutting. She steps into the hallway to make the first round of calls. Court filing, notary arrangement, a private courier to pick up the new draft from her office. I lean back, the morphine drip softening the pain in my hip, but sharpening something else. Resolve. My fingers curl over the hospital blanket like they used to around scalpel handles. I feel something. Peaceful. For the first time since Kyle's whisper, I am no longer waiting to react. I've already responded. 20 minutes pass. The sunlight rises across the tile. Then I hear footsteps. Too familiar, too cheerful. Kyle walks in carrying coffee and a bouquet of sunflowers. His smile is all teeth and no truth. Good morning, superstar, he says, voice syrupy. I brought your favorite. I smile just enough to match the curve of his performance. Thank you, I say, watching as he places the coffee beside my untouched water. You're just in time. For what? He asks. I press the nurse call button. To celebrate something new. Kyle sits beside my hospital bed like a man who's never lifted a selfish finger. He fluffs my pillow twice, as if he suddenly cares about the angle of my spine. His cologne clings to the room, sharp, store-brand overconfidence, mixed with the sterile scent of chlorhexidine and latex gloves. You look better already, he says, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. I told the nurses you bounce back quick, told them you were tough. I blink slowly, deliberately. The movement is weak enough to fit his fantasy, but measured enough to keep my eyes on him. Toughness comes in handy, I murmur. He smiles, too wide. They said you might be home by Thursday. I figured I could start prepping things at the house. Maybe move into the master temporarily, that way I'm close if you need anything. My hip pulses, but not as hard as the sudden throb behind my ribs. I don't react. I just nod. That's thoughtful. He grins like a boy who thinks he's solved a maze no one else could see. I mean, it's silly for the whole place to sit quiet while you're out of commission, right? I'll keep it humming. Declutter, take care of bills, you name it. How would you change the house? I ask lightly, eyes half-lidded. He leans back, as if he's been waiting for the invitation. Oh, first thing, repaint the study. That pale green? It's like a dentist's waiting room. I'd knock out the built-ins too. Turn that into an office for freelance consulting. Maybe rent the guest suite. Market's hot. Each sentence is a nail. Not in a coffin, but in a contract I never signed. I hum. Interesting vision. Your kitchen's great, though, he adds quickly, sensing the slip. Just needs a few updates. Nothing major. Nothing major, I repeat, smiling faintly. Sounds manageable. He kisses my forehead, an act of control dressed as care. Rest, okay? I'll handle things. By nightfall, Miriam's text arrives. Miriam G. Documents filed. Trust in effect. House moved to revocable. Account frozen. You're clear. I reply with a single word. Excellent. Then I do something else. I log into my home network. Kyle, in his eagerness, forgot that I once managed Opera. Ting room technology before he knew how to reset a router. I installed a secure access system 3 years ago to manage the thermostat remotely. It came with cloud-linked surveillance and live file access. I tap into it now. He's in my house, in my study, on my laptop. He's sipping a craft beer like he owns the desk. His posture is loose, arrogant. A man casually sorting through folders that aren't his, but that he believes soon will be. He clicks through files, budget sheets, insurance policies. Then he pauses. His eyes land on a desktop folder labeled carlinwill.pdf. He double-clicks it. The screen flashes open. I watch his face tighten in confusion. And then, audacity. He opens my PDF editor. He actually begins typing. A new clause header, contingency reinstatement, primary heir, Kyle Carlin. I breathe once, in, then out. The will he's editing is a decoy, a ghost file loaded with fake totals, dummy beneficiaries, and a silent tracker embedded in the metadata. One tap, and Miriam will see every keystroke. Still, the arrogance stuns me. He thinks I've already slipped beneath the surface. Fading, gone. He doesn't know I'm watching him rewrite a future I already incinerated. The morning light slants across my hospital tray as I balance the encrypted tablet on a folded towel. Camera angled just right. My fingers ache slightly from the IV bandage, but they still know how to dance across a screen when something critical is on the line. "Good morning, Maggie," says Roland Lefferts, my financial advisor of 18 years, his voice crackling through the secured call interface. His tie is slightly crooked, his hairline retreating faster than it did last quarter, but his mind is sharp, and right now, I need sharp. "We're doing this quick and quiet," I say, "and I want it all traced." His expression hardens, switching from pleasantries to purpose. "The accounts? Start with the brokerage, liquidate 60%, transfer into 3 separate holding funds, 2 under anonymous charitable arms we discussed. The third goes into the Women's Medical Education Endowment. That'll trigger reporting flags," he warns gently. "Let them flag it," I reply. I'd rather have an IRS phone call than another whisper over my body. He nods. Understood. While he works through the transfers, I reach for the second document on the tray, the Roth IRA form. It's pre-filled, needing only one signature to update the co-beneficiary field. I scrawl the name Ruthie Mae Eldridge, my caregiver, my buffer, my first line of defense. I remember how she steadied me when I first came home after surgery, how she glanced over at Kyle with those quiet, narrowed eyes. She didn't say much, but she saw too much to ignore, and she stayed when others might have backed away from the mess. "She won't know until I'm gone," I say to Roland, holding up the form for confirmation. "She'll be the right one," he replies. Next comes the annuity, short-term, locked, untouchable by outside hands. It offers less in return than my stocks ever would, but this isn't about return. This is about firewalling a future. Roland pulls up the form on screen, letting me verify the terms. 10-year payout, sole owner, Margaret Ann Carlin. No second signatory, No shared rights. That leaves the house, he says next. Already done, I say, a flicker of satisfaction curling in my chest. Miriam filed the title change yesterday. It's now under a revocable trust in the Carlin Preservation Fund. My name doesn't sit on it anymore. He blinks. Then he smiles. You're not just playing defense. No, I say, I'm amputating. The final step is quiet, sterile, and critical. I open my secondary laptop, kept here in the hospital with full remote admin privileges, and access the main security dashboard for my digital accounts. One by one, I isolate all known logins, IP addresses, and device sessions connected to my financial tools. 3 show Kyle's MacBook Pro. 2 are mobile, his phone likely using my guest Wi-Fi. I click the menu. Revoke executor access. Flag suspicious activity. Set real-time alerts for login attempts from device ID number 7390GJ. Done. I scroll down further and set a fraud alert at each institution. 1 button per bank. Every alert tied to his name, his email, his digital thumbprint. His curiosity will now trip landmines. That night, back home, I watch it unfold from my recovery suite. I see the MacBook screen through the remote viewer. He's lounging on my couch, legs crossed like a man expecting windfalls, not warnings. He opens my brokerage login, types in the saved credentials I never changed, intentionally. He clicks Enter. The screen doesn't load what he expects. Instead, bold white letters appear on black background. Access denied. Executor authorization revoked. Kyle freezes, stares, then blinks 3 times, slow. I zoom in as he rereads it. He doesn't know I'm watching him learn, too late, that the vault he thought was waiting for him just slammed shut. The pen rests cold against my fingers, like a scalpel before incision. Only this time, it won't open flesh. It will sever power. Sign here, Miriam says, laying the updated documents flat across the tray table. Her voice is measured, the kind of calm that only comes from controlling the blade instead of dodging it. I press the tip down, stroke by stroke, writing my name with the same clarity I once used to mark dosages and ventilator settings. Margaret Ann Carlin, power of attorney, revoked. Successor agent, Dr. Leo Benjamin Trent. Official as of 8:31 a.m., Miriam says, flipping the page to the final witness line. Ruthie steps forward, still in her scrubs, hair pulled back in a practical knot. She reads the line twice before signing, her eyes steady. Thank you, I say softly. I've seen what Kyle's been saying when he thinks no one's listening, she murmurs. This isn't betrayal. It's triage. My physical therapist, Jonah, signs next. He pauses after writing his name and adds beneath it, Licensed PT, State of Virginia. The subtext is clear. I'm not just a signature, I'm a witness. My nurse, Carmen, signs last, her badge still clipped to her collar. You didn't hear this from me? She says in a low voice, but Kyle called the front desk yesterday asking about compassionate acceleration. The phrasing stuck. Miriam doesn't even look up. That'll be useful if this goes to court. It will, I say. The next sheet in the folder bears a blue ink stamp and gold seal. Medical competency statement, cognitive integrity. Signed by both Dr. Holloway and Dr. Strauss, it certifies what I already know, but what Kyle hoped I couldn't prove. I am of sound mind, fully alert, in full control of my affairs. It's notarized, filed, and digital copies are already backed up in 3 separate secure locations. I sent the filings to the county clerk's office 15 minutes ago, Miriam says. Kyle's access is void across medical, legal, and financial directives. Excellent, I reply, adjusting the collar of my robe. Let's see how long it takes him to realize it. As if summoned by tension, the door slams open. Kyle strides in, red-faced, jaw working like a pendulum between disbelief and rage. He's holding his phone, open to an email he clearly doesn't understand. You changed the POA? He barks. Are you serious? I am, I say. Fully. You revoked me? After everything I've done to help? You've helped yourself, I say. To my records, my property, and my prognosis. His eyes cut to Miriam. Who even is he? He gestures to the stack of files, the signature pages, the new name on the document. Leo Trent? That crusty old guy from the medical board? Dr. Leo Trent, I correct. My former business partner, the man who covered for me when I nearly lost my license because of your college debt and I falsified a discretionary transfer to cover it. He didn't blink. Now I've given him power I trust. Kyle laughs, high-pitched and cracked. This is a joke. You're being manipulated. This is elder fraud. I had 2 doctors evaluate me this morning, I say coolly. Both declared me competent. You can check the seal. It's filed. He shakes his head. This is wrong. You're setting fire to your future. No, I say, folding the last document into Miriam's folder. I'm setting fire to the leash you kept wrapping around my throat. Kyle stares at me, mouth open like he's waiting for a rewind button that doesn't exist. Next time you speak for me, I say, voice low but sharp, bring a license. The front door swings open to the soft hum of jazz playing from the kitchen speakers. Kyle stands in the foyer, wearing the practiced smile of a man who thinks the show's still his. Welcome home, Mom, he says, stepping forward with his arms wide. House is just how you left it. Better, maybe. I offer a nod and a thin smile. Smells like lemon cleaner. Figured I'd spruce up, he says. Thought I could cook tonight. Something light. Salmon, maybe? I've been watching that Mediterranean diet documentary. He's already trying to rebrand himself. Healthy, attentive, capable, as if the last 5 days never happened. That sounds lovely, I say. He beams. But by sunset, 3 cameras are running. I wait until he's in the backyard watering the hedge I asked him to trim last spring, and never did. Quietly, Ruthie helps me mount a discreet lens behind the clock in the hallway. One in the study, aimed at my desk. The last one, behind a ceramic sugar bowl in the kitchen. None bigger than a thumbprint. Each syncs to a secure cloud server and backs up locally to an encrypted drive stored inside a hollowed-out copy of the Federalist Papers. By the time dinner is plated, over-seasoned, undercooked, I have eyes in every room that matters. He doesn't notice, not yet, but I catch him that night. I'm in bed, reclined, earbuds in. Ruthie's in the laundry room folding towels. The house is quiet, until Kyle picks up the landline in the kitchen. The camera's mic is weak, but the cell phone in his other hand, held too close to his face, captures the rest. She's more alert than I expected, he mutters. Yeah, still hobbling around, but if she slips in the bathroom or falls down the porch steps, it's done. A pause. She's not gonna last 6 months. You said it yourself. She's just protecting the estate. Once that breaks loose. The voice on the other end is too muffled to hear clearly, but the phrase that follows isn't. One fall, Kyle says, and I get everything. Ruthie's footsteps freeze just outside the door. Her voice comes in low. You want me to keep the laundry going, or are we burning the house down tonight? I nod slowly. Keep folding. At 7:13 a.m. the next day, I slip the USB drive into a padded envelope. I write Miriam's address in clean block letters. No return. Inside the drive is a copy of the hallway footage. Date stamped, logged, backed up. Audio cleaned. Ruthie's voice remains. Mine, too, but it's Kyle's words that slice through. I seal the envelope, press the adhesive flat with the palm of my hand. In the hallway, Kyle flips through the mail. Anything good? I ask sweetly. He shakes his head. Junkin Donation asks. I'll walk this one down myself, I say, holding up the manila package. Just a thank you to a friend. He doesn't blink. He doesn't know it's already over. The scent of rosemary chicken hits before I round the corner, fragrant, crisp to perfection. Kyle's wearing a blue button-down, sleeves rolled just enough to show forearms he's never worked a day with. Music drifts in from the Bluetooth speaker, Miles Davis, of course, just smooth enough to distract, just clever enough to feel planned. Your table awaits, he announces with a dramatic bow. I smile, slow and measured. How extravagant. It's your recovery week, he says. You deserve a little warmth. Warmth. That's the word he keeps returning to lately, like he learned it from a Hallmark rerun. But there's something brittle under the surface, something too polished. He sets a linen napkin on my lap and fills my glass with Merlot before I've even touched the water. "You remembered," I say. "Of course I did." I reach for the napkin, palming the tiny black recorder stitched discreetly into its edge. Ruthie's nephew sews custom surveillance gear for law enforcement. Sometimes the solution fits inside cotton folds. "Smells delicious," I say, placing the napkin back over my knee, lens angled upward toward Kyle. He beams and carves into the chicken. Thought I'd go all out. I even did the potatoes from scratch. I watch him serve my plate with the flair of a man who thinks this meal is an ending, not an audit. His tone is too light, his gestures too exact. It's a performance. But I'm not the audience. I'm the judge. "You've been thoughtful lately," I say, letting my fork rest. "Caring." I notice it. He leans in slightly, grin modest. "It's just time, that's all. I want to make sure you're comfortable." I tilt my head. "Is that what you wanted when you asked the surgeon to speed things up?" He stiffens, barely, but I see it, the quick constriction of his jaw, the flinch behind his eyes. Then, recovery. "I was nervous," he says. "I didn't mean it like that." "I know," I say. "We've both said things we didn't mean. Money stress does that." "Yeah," he replies, relieved by the pivot. "And speaking of which, have you thought about simplifying your estate? You know, avoiding probate, trusts, beneficiary updates, power of attorney, all that legal spaghetti?" "I've thought about it," I say, sipping the wine slowly. "Tell me something. Just curious. How much do you think I'm worth?" His eyes flicker. "What, like financially?" He laughs, bashful. "I don't know, a couple million, maybe 3, with the house and your retirement. Oh, and the stocks, and your teaching pension. Oh, and the land in Roanoke." I nod, slow. "That's precise." "Just ballpark," he says, waving it off too fast. "You left out the annuity," I add. He blinks, then covers with a sip of his own glass. "Right, that too." I fold the napkin gently across my lap. It's still rolling. "You're smart," I say. "Detail-oriented. I never told you any of those numbers." He shrugs. "You must have, somewhere along the way." I don't think I did. The silence blooms just long enough to sour the wine. Then, because the devil always oversteps, he says it. "I just need you to make it to next quarter," he mutters, almost like a joke slicing another bite. "Then we're clear." I blink once, then smile. "Clear?" He chuckles, but it's brittle. "Just financially. Things reset after the fiscal year." I raise my glass. "To fiscal cliffs." He clinks it, pretending not to hear the edge in my voice. That night, once he's asleep on the couch with a whiskey glass half drained beside him, I transfer the file from the napkin's SD card to my laptop. The audio is sharp, clear. Every word recorded in crystal clarity, his calm recitation of my assets, his clinical phrasing, and that final line, "I just need you to make it to next quarter." I don't title the file when I upload it. I just attach it to an anonymous email. Subject line, "Elder Financial Abuse, Proof from Inside." Recipient, investigations@dailyrecordpress.org. The phone buzzes twice on the nightstand before I answer. I don't recognize the number. I don't need to. "Mrs. Carlin?" A calm voice says. "This is Maya Chen with the Daily Record Press. I believe you submitted a file to our investigations inbox this week." I pause. I might have. The audio was startling, but credible. We vetted the voice match and the timestamp metadata. Before we go to print, we're offering the source, whoever they may be, a chance to verify authenticity, off record. My eyes drift to the window. Wind brushes the hedges outside, soft and persistent. Kyle's car isn't in the driveway. He left earlier for a quick store run that's now stretching past an hour, probably calling lawyers he can't afford. "Off record," I repeat. "And no names?" "No names," Maya confirms. "But it helps if we can confirm one detail. Is the speaker in the audio aware they were being recorded?" "No," I say simply. "But now he will be." The article hits online the next morning. "Elder Financial Abuse, Hidden in Plain Sight." Subtitle, "How One Son's Calculated Care Raised Red Flags Behind Closed Doors." The mother remains unnamed. So does the son, but the audio file is embedded at the top of the article, just one click away. He's there in full color, charming, calculating, careless. I make breakfast with slow, deliberate movements. Toast, sliced avocado, a sprinkle of lemon pepper. Ruthie enters with the newspaper tucked under her arm like a badge of honor. "Online's buzzing," she says. "Comments are flooding in, all supportive, and it's only been an hour." By midday, my phone chimes again. The neighbors, polite and southern to the bone, begin to appear in quiet ways. A knock at the door with a bundt cake, a handwritten note from the Andersons. "We're here if you need anything. We believe you." Even the cashier at my pharmacy slips a post-it into my prescription bag. "Stay strong. Saw the article. Wish my mom had done the same." Kyle walks in around 3. He slams the front door a little harder than necessary. "Jesus, Mom," he spits. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" I glance up from my tea. "Find out what?" "The article." His hand shakes as he tosses a printed copy onto the kitchen counter. "You sent it. You recorded me." "I sent nothing," I say smoothly. "An anonymous woman submitted it. Maybe she felt endangered." "They described everything." "Then maybe the truth wasn't so anonymous after all." He grips the edge of the table. "Retract it. Now." "I can't retract what I didn't publish. If you're so certain it's about you," I add, raising an eyebrow. "Why don't you sue the anonymous woman and see how far it goes?" His jaw works in silence. "There's a word for what you're doing," I add softly. "It starts with guilt and ends in control." He shoves the chair back, nearly knocking it over, and storms toward the hallway. I don't stop him, but I do reach for my phone. The press memo from Miriam goes out that night. A preemptive legal statement, backed by audio, timestamps, financial records, and physician documentation. It's emailed to every major local outlet and printed in the sidebar of the Daily Record Press online edition. It includes one line in bold: "Our client is prepared to respond to any and all legal intimidation with full transparency and court-backed evidence." The next morning, while Kyle's trimming the front hedge to look useful for passing neighbors, a dark SUV pulls into the drive. 2 deputies exit. "Mr. Kyle Carlin?" He straightens. "Yeah?" "You've been served." The envelope hits his hand before he can dodge it. He opens it too fast. He's not used to being on the receiving end of a surprise. His lips move as he reads. Restraining order. Immediate distance, 250 feet. Filed, Margaret Ann Carlin. His eyes lift toward the window where I'm sipping tea again, watching him. He steps forward. The deputies step in front of him. He says nothing. He walks backward, slowly, envelope in hand, as if holding something radioactive, because he is. The cursor blinks in the center of my screen like a steady heartbeat. The file is queued. 3 video clips, 2 audio recordings, 1 time-stamped financial log. Every second, every syllable, meticulously cataloged. I click Upload All. No aliases. No gray lines. I'm done hiding behind euphemisms and anonymous whispers. Within 12 hours, it's everywhere. By sunrise, I wake to over 30 unread emails. Subject lines like, "Bravery, not betrayal," and "We believe you." By noon, the story has gone national. NPR picks it up in a segment called "Mothers, Money, and the Silent Epidemic," when elder abuse begins at home. The Washington Ledger reposts the article with added excerpts from the foot. Age I released. My voice, steady and clear, narrating the pattern while Kyle's offhanded cruelty echoes behind it. One fall, and I get everything. The inbox dings again. Subject line: Internal Review, Kyle Carlin. I open it. Kyle's employer, Edelton Ventures, a mid-size commercial real estate firm, has launched an internal ethics investigation. They request access to the documents submitted to the press. My lawyer forwards them within the hour. My hands don't shake when I sign the consent form. My coffee does. The air outside my house is different now. Not heavier, lighter, as if I finally cracked a window after years of stale, well-mannered rot. My neighbors aren't whispering anymore. They're stopping me in the pharmacy, asking gently if I need anything. They say my name the way someone says "hero" under their breath. The only silence now comes from Kyle's number, which blinks blocked every time it tries and fails to break through. The letter to Adult Protective Services takes 3 hours to write. I dictate every part myself. I use language from their guidelines: careful, concise, repeated coercion, financial misrepresentation, evidence of conditional emotional manipulation. Miriam helps me attach the timestamps and screen grabs. The APS caseworker calls me directly. "Thank you," she says, voice low, maybe a little cracked. "We've had trouble getting these types of cases to stick." "Make this one stick," I reply. "Others are watching now." Then comes the hearing date. March 14th. The same week the magnolias bloom in the yard Kyle used to mow in high school for $20 and a can of Coke. This hearing isn't about guilt yet. It's about access. Whether he'll be allowed anywhere near my accounts again. But it's public. And on record. Ruthie prints the docket notice and pins it to my refrigerator. "You'll win," she says, handing me chamomile tea. "I already have," I reply. "Now we just finish the paperwork." The twist doesn't come from me. It comes from his past. 2 days before the hearing, my attorney receives a tip. Anonymous. But verified. A deposition, quietly submitted under seal. Kyle's ex-wife, not named, but fully credentialed. She describes under oath how Kyle once gained medical proxy over her grandmother after an unexpected fall, moved her into assisted living without consent, and quietly liquidated her rural property, just weeks before her passing. She remembers him saying, "They forget things fast at that age, easier to move quick." The signature on the sale deed? Forged. Different handwriting. No notary. They never pursued it. The grandmother passed before charges could be filed, and Kyle used her funeral to network with an investor. It's the anchor. The one I didn't have to lift. At 9:17 a.m. on the day of the hearing, the judge rules: temporary freeze on all assets and financial activity tied to Kyle J. Carlin, pending full civil review of fiduciary breach, misconduct, and attempted exploitation. He sits 3 rows back, pale and blinking. For once, silent. I sign the paperwork with the same blue pen I used when I first appointed him power of attorney. It feels like an autopsy, but this time I'm reviving myself. Miriam closes the leather-bound folder between us with a quiet finality that feels louder than any gavel. Her glasses are pushed halfway down her nose, and she looks at me with a faint smile, respectful but firm. "Well, Maggie, once we file this, it's irreversible. He contests, he gets nothing. No appeals, no footnotes." "Good," I say, smoothing the sleeve of my cardigan. "Make it sting." The air in her office smells like ink and law books. Outside, a storm stirs the branches of the sycamore just beyond the frosted window pane. I breathe in the sterile clarity of justice. The new clause is short. Less than 4 sentences. It reads, "Any individual named in any prior version of this estate who initiates a challenge to the current version of this will forfeits all claims to inheritance, assets, or legal representation from the estate of Margaret Ann Carlin. This clause is non-negotiable, non-reversible, and enforceable under Commonwealth fiduciary statutes." I trace the last line with my index finger. "You think he'll bite?" I ask. Miriam doesn't flinch. "He'll try to. He's running out of oxygen." We go over the new beneficiaries line by line. Ruthie, my caregiver, and the only one who's never asked for more than what she gives. The Carlin Future Foundation, a scholarship for students pursuing elder law or long-term care medicine. Second Leash Sanctuary, the rescue dog shelter where I found Jasper, my golden retriever 10 years ago. They specialize in senior dogs, forgotten ones, just like some mothers. There's no conditional inclusion, no fallback clause, no "if he apologizes." Kyle is nowhere on the page, just a paper ghost now. A name stripped from legacy. 3 signatures go down beside mine: Miriam, her paralegal, and a third-party notary. All documented, all scanned. A separate hard copy is mailed to the state registrar, and a certified version uploaded to the digital archive with a timestamp so precise it could testify in court without me ever opening my mouth. Miriam taps her pen against her legal pad. Once. Twice. "You look lighter," she says. I feel lethal, I reply. She laughs once, soft but approving. I stand and smooth my scarf. It's the same one I wore to Kyle's first-grade graduation, back when he used to tug on my hand like it was a lifeline. Funny how things invert. At the door, I turn back. He asked the doctor to speed things up, I say. Miriam raises an eyebrow. So I did, I finish. Just not the way he expected. Later that afternoon, as the sky cracks open and the storm begins in earnest, Ruthie pours us both tea in the sunroom. Rain streaks down the glass like silver wires. She hands me a cup and settles into the opposite chair. You ever think he'll stop? She asks. Not while he thinks there's something left to take. And when he finds out there's not? I sip my tea and let the heat soak into my palms. That's when he'll come for the lie, I say. The illusion that something's owed. A clap of thunder shakes the window. The rain thickens. The front doorbell rings. Ruthie rises to check, but I stop her. Wait, I say. My phone buzzes in my lap. A message from Miriam, just 4 words. He's going to try once. The knock is soft, tentative, almost polite. I don't move at first, let it settle into the silence, let it wait. Then Ruthie peeks in from the hallway. It's him. Of course it is. I nod once. Let him in, no more than 20 minutes. She opens the door with a practiced calm. Kyle enters carrying a bouquet so large it swallows his forearms. Roses, blood red, the apology flower of cowards. Hi, Mom, he says, breath shallow, voice softened just enough to feign depth. I stay seated, legs crossed, tea cooling, untouched beside me. The living room smells of sandalwood and lemon oil, freshly cleaned, freshly guarded. The camera above the bookshelf ticks its silent digital eye. Kyle kneels beside me like I'm some holy relic. I've been thinking. A lot. About everything. He places the roses on the coffee table like an offering, then pulls a gift bag from behind his back. A silver-wrapped candle and a framed photo of us, me holding him as a baby, his face red and scrunched. I don't reach for it. I know I went too far, he continues, and I said some things, did some things, but I want us to move forward, reset. Please. His tone is syrup smooth, almost tearful, but his eyes betray him. They flick toward the corners of the room, scanning, searching, looking for a weak spot. I'm so glad you said that, I reply gently. He relaxes, smiling, too soon. Because I wanted you to read something. I reach under the cushion and hand him a folded note card. Creamstock, my handwriting, careful and even. He frowns, unfolds it, reads aloud. I just need her to make it to next quarter, then we're clear. One fall and I get everything. He stops. His throat bobs. I stare. Sound familiar? The smile falters. You're using my words against me now? No, I say. I'm having you read them out loud. For the first time in front of yourself. He tries to laugh. Jesus, you're what, recording me now? I raise one eyebrow. I don't have to. The entire house is under surveillance. Audio, visual, motion activated. You're being recorded right now. His face darkens. Red creeps up his neck like heat under glass. You're insane, he hisses. Paranoid. I'm cautious. I correct. It's a learned behavior. You taught me. He rises too quickly, knocking his knee against the edge of the table. The bouquet topples over. Water spills across the floor. Everything I said, everything I did, was out of stress, he says, stepping back. You know I was just trying to secure your future, I finish for him, by skipping mine. He stares at me, jaw clenched, hands twitching at his sides. The camera blinks silently above us. Ruthie appears in the doorway like punctuation at the end of a sentence. Your 20 minutes are up, she says coolly. Kyle turns on his heel, shoulder brushing hard against hers as he storms down the hallway. The front door slams with a finality I've waited my whole life to hear. I lean back in the chair, exhale through my teeth. The roses wilt a little faster in the puddle on the table. Ruthie walks in with a towel, blots the water without a word. I whisper, mostly to myself, that was the last time. She hears me anyway. I know. 3 days later, the landline rings. An unfamiliar extension, County Court. This is Margaret Carlin, I answer. Mrs. Carlin, This is Clerk Harris from Fairfax Civil Division. I'm calling to confirm a notice. A formal civil judgment has been filed against Kyle J. Carlin. Would you like to be listed for victim impact statement review? I close my eyes. The tea has gone cold, untouched, but it still smells faintly of ginger and calm. Yes, I say. I'd like to be very clear. The courtroom smells like polished wood, old paper, and tension. Not the kind that rises slowly, the kind that already snapped and is just waiting to echo. My shoes make no sound on the carpeted floor as I approach the witness stand. The bailiff holds the Bible out with a neutral face. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do, I say, clear enough to carry to the back row. I sit, spine straight, voice calm, not rehearsed but practiced. I've been telling truths for decades in operating rooms. Today is no different, except the scalpel is language. Miriam stands, tailored suit immaculate, her presence sharp as a scalpel. She nods once. Dr. Margaret Carlin, she begins, can you please state your current mental health status for the record? I unfold the folder in my lap and remove a printed medical summary, embossed with the seal of the private neurocognitive center, where I underwent testing. This file contains 3 independent evaluations from licensed specialists, I say, voice level. All confirm I am of sound mind, with full cognitive capacity and no signs of impairment. I hand it to the clerk, who passes it to the judge. The judge skims it, eyes narrowing slightly in concentration. Have you experienced confusion, memory loss, or decision-making difficulty in the past 6 months? Miriam asks. No, I say, but I've been treated like I have. Next comes the audio. Miriam cues it up, glancing at the judge with solemn precision. Your Honor, she says, this is the audio recorded by the anesthesiologist and surgical team during Dr. Carlin's hip replacement procedure, with your permission. The judge nods. It plays, the sterile beeping of a heart monitor, the muted shuffle of feet in a quiet OR, then Kyle's voice. Can we speed things up? She doesn't need to wake up just to waste what's left. There's an audible shift in the courtroom. The gallery stiffens. The stenographer's fingers slow. Kyle, seated beside his lawyer, flinches. His jaw tightens, then drops into a rehearsed sneer. That could be anything, he says, barely audible. You can't prove that was me. Miriam raises an eyebrow. That's strange, Mr. Carlin. Because the anesthesiologist is here today, shall we? The anesthesiologist, a young, stone-faced woman in surgical blue, takes the stand. Her testimony is short, surgical. I remember the voice. I remember the man. And I remember the way the room changed when he said it. Do you believe he was referring to his mother's passing? I believe he wanted it accelerated. The judge leans back, folding his hands together. Understood. Kyle's lawyer tries to pivot, suggests stress, jokes, context. But the words fall flat. No one in the room looks amused, least of all the judge, whose gaze lands on me with renewed weight. Dr. Carlin, he says slowly, do you fear your son will attempt to access your finances or assets again, either directly or through coercion? I don't fear it, I say. I expect it. That's why I made it impossible. He pauses, then nods. I'm granting permanent financial protection status to Dr. Margaret Carlin under the Commonwealth Elder Security Provision. No access shall be granted to the defendant, direct or indirect. Additionally, he turns to Kyle, who's gone gray around the temples. Mr. Carlin, you are hereby sentenced to complete 12 weeks of court-monitored financial ethics education. You will also pay a civil penalty of $18,000 in restitution due within 90 days. Failure to comply will result in escalation to criminal court. The gavel strikes once, final, unmistakable. Outside, the sky is pale and sharp with autumn light. Ruthie helps me down the steps, my cane tapping a slow, steady rhythm. I look back just once. Kyle stands on the steps, watching me leave, hands clenched in fists so tight his knuckles have gone white. The apology never comes. I don't need it. The pen doesn't tremble when I sign the deed. Not like it used to, when nerves might have slipped in between thought and paper. Not anymore. My signature loops steady and clean at the bottom of the transfer. 2 copies, one for the Preservation Trust, one for me. The notary stamps it. Final. No takebacks. "Congratulations, Dr. Carlin," says the woman across the table. "The estate now belongs to Virginia Land and History Trust. It'll be safe for generations. No private ownership allowed, no redevelopment." "And the clause?" I ask. She nods. "No sale or lease to any family member, direct or by proxy, especially not to Kyle Carlin. We ran background checks on all bid-related entities." "Good, because he tried." "It started 3 weeks ago, just after his court loss. A shell company with a generic name, Iron Hill Holdings, made an aggressive offer on the house. Full cash, no contingencies. Slightly above market value. Suspiciously eager." Miriam flagged it immediately. "He's still playing Monopoly." "With your life," she said. We declined. Days later, another offer came. Different name, same email syntax. By the third, we were laughing. Miriam's team traced them all back to one source. Kyle's college roommate, a man with no real estate history until now. Sloppy. That's when I knew. He didn't want the house because it was beautiful. He wanted it because I loved it once, because it meant something, because he couldn't stand the idea that it would belong to no one who bore his name. So I gave it to everyone. The Virginia Land and History Trust will preserve the house and garden in its original 1923 structure. It'll be used for public events, community workshops, and annual memorial tours. The profits? Every last dollar of the $1.3 million sale goes to seed a new initiative, the Margaret Carlin Fund for Women's Financial Literacy. We'll teach women like me, older, underestimated, too polite to ask about money, how to read contracts, control their accounts, and identify manipulation before it roots. Miriam smiled when I told her, "That's the cleanest revenge I've ever filed," she said. I move out the next morning. The co-op in downtown Charlottesville is everything my old house wasn't: modest, secure, and not haunted by memories in picture frames. No room for legacy photos, just clean walls and the smell of lavender from Ruthie's essential oil diffuser. The building has 24-hour security, cameras in the lobby, private elevators keyed by tenant fobs. No one gets in without clearance. Ruthie handles my moving boxes like a professional, organized, steady, unbothered by the fact that this is my second life. Not a chapter, a different book entirely. We hang my favorite watercolor above the fireplace. It's not of the estate, it's of the sea. "I didn't know you liked the ocean," she says. "I like anything that can't be fenced in," I reply. The first night in the co-op, I sleep with the window cracked open. The breeze feels cleaner here, like it hasn't passed through greed before reaching my lungs. Jasper curls up by the bed. Ruthie leaves a cup of chamomile on the nightstand. My laptop pings softly at 2:14 a.m. One new email. From Kyle J. Carlin. Subject: "You win. I lost everything." I don't even open it. The subject line sits there on my screen like a pit in a bowl of peaches. Sour, lodged, uninvited. That's all the preview gives me, and it's enough. My finger hovers above the trackpad. I don't tremble. I don't rage. I click delete, and then, with a strange kind of relief pulsing behind my ribs, I open the email settings and block his address. Permanently. No filters, no exceptions. The silence after is not absence. It's grace. Sunlight pours into the co-op like it's been waiting for me to notice it. The morning light here doesn't bounce off inherited portraits or glint off silver frames of a family that lost its name to ambition. It moves slowly across the hardwood floor, warming the rugs, dancing up the walls. I open a novel I've read twice before. This time, I underline the lines that didn't catch me the first time. I sip coffee Ruthie left in the carafe before heading out for errands. She's labeled the tin Dr. Carlin's sanity beans. I chuckle every time. The scent of lemon balm from the windowsill garden blends with the crisp edge of paper pages. For the first time in years, my home smells like things that live, not things that were left behind. On the last Saturday of every month, we host a workshop. Miriam, Dr. Holloway, and I call it Your Signature Matters. It fills fast. Women arrive with questions written on wrinkled notepads and folded legal mail. They leave with answers, spreadsheets, and the unshakable truth that it is never too late to reclaim your financial autonomy. Some of them cry, some shake with rage, most bring cookies. "I didn't even know I could take my son off my bank account," one woman whispers last week. I nod. They count on that. Ruthie checks people in, arranges refreshments, and guards the entry list like a hawk. She's not just a caregiver anymore. She's salaried staff at the foundation. My first hire, my best decision. She never asks me about Kyle. She doesn't have to. She saw enough. The courtyard garden behind the co-op is technically shared, but no one touches the far corner anymore. That's where I planted boundaries. It's a mix of tall stalks and thorned blooms, lavender, bee balm, red sage, rosemary, and a bright cluster of foxglove. A plaque set in the soil reads, "Things that thrive when left alone." I tend to it in the evenings. Prune, water. Speak gently to roots no one can steal. Neighbors walk by, curious. One woman claps softly when she reads the plaque. Another leaves a note on my door. "Thank you for being exactly what you are." The Charlottesville Observer runs a cover story in September. From sedation to salvation, Dr. Maggie Carlin reclaims her legacy. There's a photo of me laughing on the bench in front of the co-op. Jasper is curled up at my feet. Ruthie's arm is just visible at the edge of the frame. The article is thoughtful, honest, no sensational quotes, just facts. I receive letters from women across the state, handwritten, typed, emailed. One from a retired teacher reads, "Because of you, my son doesn't have access to my house deed anymore. Thank you for showing us it's not unloving to say no." It stays pinned on my fridge beside a magnet that reads, "No is a full sentence." A ping pulls my gaze back to the laptop. New email from Julie Ortega, Senior Literary Agent, Laird and Mason. Subject: Your story could help thousands. I open it this time. The book is thinner than most memoirs. I insisted on that. No fluff, no indulgence, no chapters dragging their feet. I wanted every page to pulse with breath, real breath, from women like me who were told to go quietly. While I slept is not about revenge, it's about waking up. The final sentence ends in a period, not an ellipsis. Because this story, mine, ends exactly where I choose. The book tour is modest but well attended. Community colleges, libraries, senior centers. I sign paperbacks with the same pen I once used to revoke my will. Every time it touches the title page, I feel the sting of anesthesia in my arm again, and the clarity that followed. I make no profit. Every check from the publisher goes directly into the Margaret Carlin Fund for Women's Financial Literacy and Recovery. The fund now sponsors emergency grants for women fighting to remove predatory family members from their accounts and homes. We've helped 36 so far, 36 lives rerouted. I'd call that legacy. At the final signing, in a quiet indie bookstore with creaky floors and lemon bars on the front table, a young woman waits until the very end to approach. She's maybe 25, with fingernails chewed to the quick and a trembling hand gripping her copy. When she reaches me, she doesn't speak right away. Just breathes, one inhale too fast, one exhale too shaky. "My grandmother," she says finally. She didn't know she could say no. To her son, to my uncle, he took everything. He said it was easier that way. I look her in the eyes. I let silence wrap gently between us. "She read your article in the Observer," she continues. "Then the book. Then she called her lawyer. She's okay now. She's safe." I feel something rise in my chest that isn't triumph. It's peace. "You saved her," the young woman whispers. I close the book, slide it back to her, and smile. That's the only inheritance that matters. Outside, the air smells like early fall, faint wood smoke, crushed leaves, and cold iron in the breeze. Ruthie walks beside me, our pace slow but steady. Jasper trots ahead on his leash, tail swishing like he's leading a parade. We pass a mural on the side of a law office, bold silhouettes of older women standing shoulder to shoulder, one arm raised. The words below read, "You're not alone. You're not done." I press my palm to the paint for a moment. It's still warm from the afternoon sun. Back home, my garden boundaries is in full bloom. The rosemary spikes have grown taller than expected, and the sage spills over the stone border like it refuses containment. I kneel beside the lavender, brush my fingertips across its silver tips, and inhale. Jasper curls in the grass beside me. Ruthie sits on the porch swing, reading a magazine and sipping ginger tea. "This is the good part," she says, not looking up. "The ending?" I ask. She glances over her glasses. "The part where you get to live without anyone narrating it for you." In the evening, I light one candle. Just one. No reason except that it glows. My phone buzzes, and for a moment I brace. Even now, the ghost of Kyle's presence lingers like a distant knock. But it's an automated alert. Another grant funded, another woman protected. There's no headline, no applause, no crowd, just the steady click of a door locking behind me, not on me. They said I was slipping into confusion, into frailty, into the background of my own life. But they were wrong. I was slipping the keys from their hands, slipping my name out of their paperwork, slipping away from anyone who ever tried to write me out loud before I finished speaking.